Her tiny body turned blue from cold, until the human gave her warmth and hope. The wind on planet Varel 9 howled like a beast, cold and endless. Snow fell in waves, covering the ruins of an old science station. In that storm, a man in a dark exosuit walked slowly, his helmet light cutting through the fog. His name was Commander Reese Hale, a human soldier from Earth who had lost everything in the last war. He was searching for survivors, or maybe just for a reason to keep living. The signal he followed was weak, a soft beep coming from the ruins. It pulsed once every few seconds, a cry for help from something still alive. His boots crunched against ice as he moved closer, scanning the wreckage. Thermal reading, faint life detected, said his suit AI. The voice calm and cold. Reese stopped, frowning inside his helmet. Life? Out here? He whispered. The last battle here had been 6 months ago. Everything organic should be dead by now. He pulled aside a broken metal panel, and beneath it, something moved. Small and fragile. It looked like a child, but not human. Her skin was pale silver, with a faint blue glow under it. Her hair fine as frost. She was shivering violently, her tiny body turning blue from the cold. For a moment, Reese froze. She looked like the alien species known as the Lyraean, the same race that had nearly destroyed his fleet. His hand went to his weapon out of instinct, but then he saw her eyes. Half open, weak, filled with fear and pain, she tried to speak, but only a soft sound came out, like wind through glass. Her small fingers reached toward him before falling back. Something inside Reese cracked open. He couldn't just leave her to die. No matter what she was, he lifted her gently, his armored hands careful not to crush her tiny frame. Her skin was icy cold. Too cold. His suit's sensors flashed warnings. Subject temperature critical. Without thinking, he pressed the emergency heater control on his chest plate. Warmth flooded the inside of his suit. He opened the front panel slightly and pressed her against his chest, sharing heat directly. At first she didn't move. Then, slowly, a faint pulse began to beat under her skin. Her body glowed a little brighter, shifting from blue to soft silver again. Reese felt his throat tighten. He had seen too much death. Too many burned cities. Too many frozen bodies left behind. But this small creature clinging to life in his arms felt different, like maybe life still had meaning. He carried her to the broken lab and sealed the door with his field generator. The storm screamed outside, shaking the walls. Inside, he knelt beside an old power core, hooking up his portable heater. He wrapped her in an emergency blanket made for humans, hoping it would be enough. Hours passed. He checked her every few minutes. Her breathing was shallow but steady. At last, her eyes fluttered open. She stared at him, confused, afraid. Her voice was weak but musical. "You are not Lyraean." Reese shook his head slowly, removing his helmet so she could see his face. "No," he said softly. "I'm human." She blinked, trying to understand the word. "Human," she whispered, as if it was something she had heard before in stories. Her small hand reached toward his cheek, trembling. Her fingers brushed his skin. Warm. "Alive, real. Why, help me," she asked. Reese looked away for a moment, his jaw tightening. "Because," he said quietly, "no one deserves to die alone in the cold." She stared at him for a long time, then whispered, "My name is Alyra." Reese nodded. "Rest now, Elira. You're safe." But deep inside, he wasn't sure it was true. Outside, the storm grew stronger, and far above them, something moved in orbit. A massive ship scanning the surface. Reese didn't notice the faint red light blinking on the wall. The old base's signal beacon had activated again. Someone, somewhere, had just detected that signal, and they were coming. Reese checked his weapon and sighed. He looked down at the small alien girl sleeping against his side. He didn't know what she meant to him yet, or why he felt the need to protect her. But he knew one thing. He wasn't going to let anyone take her. Not again. Not ever. Outside, lightning tore through the clouds, revealing the shadow of an approaching ship. Part 1 of their story had just begun. And both of them, human and alien, were about to change the fate of 2 worlds. Her tiny body turned blue from cold, until the human gave her warmth and hope. The silence after the storm felt heavy. Reese sat near the broken console, his eyes on the small alien girl sleeping beside the heater. Outside, the blizzard had stopped, but the danger had not. The sky was still dark, filled with strange red clouds, glowing faintly like veins across the heavens. He checked his scanner again. The signal beacon was still transmitting, a silent scream into space. Someone had activated it. Maybe the system itself, or maybe Elira's kind. Either way, they were no longer alone on this frozen planet. He reached over, gently brushing frost from Elira's silver hair. She was breathing softly now, warmth returning to her fragile body. But even asleep, she looked uneasy. Her tiny hand twitched, as if she was dreaming of something terrible. Reese sighed and leaned back against the metal wall. His AI's voice broke the quiet. "Commander." Unidentified ship entering upper atmosphere. Estimated contact in 20 minutes. Reese's jaw clenched. Type? Unknown, not human signature. He looked down at Elira. "Of course not," he muttered. "It's never the friendly kind." As he stood, the girl stirred. Her eyes opened slowly, glowing faintly with silver light. "You're leaving," she whispered weakly. Reese hesitated, then shook his head. "No, kid. I'm getting ready to fight." Her expression changed. Fear, sadness, something more. "They will come for me," she said softly. "My people think I am dead. Then maybe they'll be happy to find you alive," Reese said. But Elira shook her head quickly. "No, not happy. Afraid. I am not supposed to exist anymore." Reese frowned. "What do you mean?" She looked down at her hands. "They made me," she whispered. "I was born in the Skyforge. Not by mother, not by father, but by science. They wanted to create a perfect Lyraean who could survive the cold, the war, the fear." Her eyes filled with tears that sparkled like ice. "But they failed. I felt pain, not power. And they tried to erase me." Reese felt something twist inside him. She wasn't just a survivor. She was a secret, a living experiment, and now that secret had been found. The AI spoke again. "Commander, ship approaching fast. Multiple energy signatures detected." Reese grabbed his rifle and checked the power cell. He looked at Elira. "Listen to me. If anything happens, you hide in that maintenance shaft. You understand?" She shook her head, her small voice trembling. "No. If they find you, they will hurt you too." He smiled faintly, the kind of smile only soldiers give before battle. "Kid, I've been hurt enough already. It's their turn now." The ground began to shake. A deep hum filled the air as the alien ship descended through the clouds. It was huge. Black metal and blue light, wings like blades, moving with the silence of death. Reese felt the pressure in his ears as the ship hovered above the ruins. Snow lifted in a spiral, the air crackling with static. Then, light, a bright beam shot down. Scanning the area, Reese ducked behind a broken wall, pulling Elira close. Through the cracks he saw shapes descending. Tall, slender beings wrapped in silver armor, their eyes glowing the same pale blue as hers. They were beautiful and terrifying. The Lyraean soldiers moved like ghosts, silent and precise. One of them spoke in a voice that echoed inside Reese's head instead of his ears. "Retrieve the prototype. Destroy the contaminant." Reese didn't need translation. He raised his rifle, heart pounding. The first shot tore through the snow, striking one of them square in the chest. but the body shimmered and vanished like mist. A hologram. Damn it! He cursed under his breath. Another beam cut through the wall beside him, melting metal. He turned and grabbed Elira's hand. Time to move! They ran through the narrow hallway, their footsteps echoing. Behind them, the Lyran voices grew louder, calling her name. Elira! You cannot hide from your creators. She stumbled once, and Reese lifted her without slowing. They burst into the open. It snowed flying as they crossed toward a half-buried hangar. Inside was an old transport ship. Dead for years, maybe longer. Reese threw himself into the pilot's seat and started reconnecting cables. Come on, he muttered, his fingers moving fast. Elira placed her small hands on the console, her eyes glowing. Blue energy surged through the ship's systems. Reese stared. What did you just do? I talked to it, she said, her voice shaking. Machines listened to me. The engines roared to life. Outside, the Lyrian soldiers turned toward the noise. Reese grinned. Well, that's one hell of a talent. Kid, the ship blasted upward. Cutting through the storm, energy bolts flew past them, lighting the sky in blue and gold. As they broke through the clouds, Reese glanced at her. She looked exhausted but determined. He said quietly, You know, you might have just saved both of us. She smiled faintly. No, you saved me first. Below them, the planet grew smaller, but above, more ships waited, forming a blockade. Reese's eyes narrowed. This isn't over, he whispered. Elira turned toward him, her silver eyes glowing softly. It's just beginning. Her tiny body turned blue from cold, until the human gave her warmth and hope. The stars burned bright against the darkness. Reese guided the damaged ship through the thin edge of orbit, every alarm screaming in his ears. Outside, 3 Lyrian cruisers followed close, their blue engines cutting lines of light across the black sky. The human's hands moved fast, his mind sharp despite exhaustion. Beside him, Elira sat in silence, her small hands gripping the edge of the console. Her silver eyes reflected the stars, her face pale with fear. They won't stop, she whispered. They can't. They are afraid of what I am. Reese gave a short, bitter laugh. Join the club, kid. Humans fear what they don't understand too. He pulled a lever, and the ship dove through a debris field, old satellites and wrecked stations spinning like ghosts. One piece of metal scraped the hull, sparks flying. The control lights flickered, and the engines began to fade. Power at 30%, his AI warned. Of course it is, Reese muttered. Gripping the controls tighter, he turned to Elira. Can you do that machine talking thing again? We need more power. She closed her eyes, her glow brightening. Energy pulsed from her fingertips into the console. The lights flickered, then steadied. But the effort drained her. She slumped forward. Breathing hard, Reese caught her before she fell. Hey, stay with me, he said softly. We're almost clear. She opened her eyes slightly, whispering, You always say that. He smiled faintly. Yeah, but this time I mean it. Behind them. A Lyran cruiser fired. A beam of blue light cut through space and hit their rear thrusters. The ship jolted violently, alarms blaring. Reese struggled to regain control. Smoke filling the cockpit. Commander. Hull breach detected. The AI said calmly. He cursed under his breath. Elira looked toward the viewport. The enemy ships were closing fast. She turned back to him, eyes full of tears and light. Reese, I can stop them. He shook his head quickly. No, we're doing this together. She placed her small hand over his heart plate. No, human warmth cannot fight ships, she said softly. But I can. Before he could stop her, she stood, her body glowing brighter, blindingly bright. The light pulsed like a heartbeat. Spreading through the ship's walls, the AI stuttered. Unidentified energy signature rising. Unprecedented levels. Reese shouted. Elira, don't! You'll burn yourself out. She looked back at him with a faint smile. You gave me warmth when I had nothing. Now I will give it back. Outside, the Lyran cruisers prepared to fire again, but suddenly, every system on their ships flickered, their engines freezing mid-burn. A wave of silver energy swept across space, silent and beautiful. Rhys watched in awe as Aelira floated slightly above the floor, her hair flowing like light. Her voice echoed through the cabin, layered and soft. I am not their weapon, not their failure. I am life. The ships outside began to crack, metal twisting, lights fading. One by one, they fell silent, drifting like frozen stars. Rhys tried to reach her, but the heat pushed him back. Aelira, stop! He shouted. Her voice grew weaker. Goodbye, Rhys. The glow expanded, covering the cockpit, and then silence. When Rhys opened his eyes, he was alone. The ship floated in the quiet void, systems slowly coming back online. He looked around, calling her name. Aelira, where are you? No answer, but then something soft brushed his hand. A faint shimmer of silver light resting against his palm. It pulsed once. Warm. Alive? The AI spoke quietly. Commander, the entity's energy has integrated with the ship. She is part of it now. Rhys closed his eyes, his chest heavy and hollow at the same time. He whispered, You didn't die, did you, kid? The ship's console flickered, forming glowing letters. No, it read, I am with you. Rhys smiled sadly, looking out at the stars. Then let's finish what we started, he said. He set the ship's course toward the distant light of a human colony. Behind him, the silent void shimmered with faint silver trails. The mark of something new, born in the dark. Days later, the colony radar picked up a strange vessel entering orbit. It wasn't fully human, nor entirely alien. It moved with purpose, with warmth, with hope. And the signal it broadcast was unlike any known frequency. It carried 2 heartbeats. One human, one something else. Together, they whispered across the stars, We are not enemies. We are survivors, somewhere far away. The Lyrian High Command received the data. They listened in silence, realizing that their failed experiment had done the impossible. She had chosen life over control, compassion over power, and the human, the broken soldier, had taught her what it meant to be alive. From that day, stories spread through the galaxy of a human and a silver child who turned war into wonder, of warmth shared in the coldest place in the universe, of hope born between 2 hearts that were never meant to meet. And though the stars remained vast and silent, somewhere among them, a single voice still echoed softly. I am not alone anymore.